Hey, Sean, good
Perfect. Good
morning.
morning. Good
Um,
morning.
you talk a lot about the sort of doing the self-scout throughout the season. So when you do get some extra time, where do you kind of, put your focus over the course of a bye week and what did you want the message to the guys to be, coming back in your current position?
Well, I think this. I think the easy illustration for us coming out off the bye. It's not like we're at the halfway point, but nonetheless, here we are in a position to compete for seeding, and there are two things that stand out. The penalties stand out. If you said what's the low hanging fruit that you have to clean up to improve your chances of getting the best possible seed. And then secondly is harping on the plus minus turnover, giveaway, takeaway. We ended up one last week, and it meant a lot. We were close to being up two, but in important games, that one possession can be the difference. So that was like two of the main topics this morning before we broke up.
Zach Stevens, DNVR.
Coach, you gave Wil Lutz an extension during the bye. Why was that so important to do? And it seems like you just have a trust and confidence in him that's pretty powerful. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I think first off, he's earned it. We spent time, George and I, before the break, and discussed a number of players that we were going to visit with, and the key is not affecting the mojo or how your team's doing. And so I'm always sensitive to that, especially when you're playing well, because sometimes those can be difficult discussions. But no, we were able to get Wil done. There's a few other players that we know we've reached out to, and I think the key is the communication aspect of it all. But he's played well. He's consistent. And I think he's got the respect of the locker room. I think, like all kickers, there's ups and downs, but he's been a great addition for us.
Chris Thomas in the Gazette.
Yeah, hey Sean. Just wanted to ask you about the running game against the Chiefs. What did you like from what you saw, and what do you still need to do in improving the running game moving forward in your estimation?
Yeah, I think, look, the number of touches that we had, the number of runs we had was down. I think looking back at it, Jaleel had a handful of good runs. And I think with the flow of a normal game, he's going to be important for us in this stretch. Obviously, RJ as well. And then Prentice played probably one of his better games. He didn't just play at the fullback position, but he actually went in with some of the pressure stuff that we were getting from Kansas City on third down and was outstanding.
Mike Kliss, 9 News.
Yes, Sean, a two-parter if I can. One, you were talking about penalties. I was wondering on what you're seeing with Riley Moss with the number of PI penalties. And the second part was about just how your special teams, which was a little maligned early, is now how they bounce back the last couple games.
Look, the special teams for us were outstanding last week. It was a big reason we won the game. When you have the return yardage differential that we had, the field position that was set up, Mims was outstanding. Guys blocking for him were great. So we just, we keep grinding. We keep looking to get the right guys on these units. I've known Riz a long time, and those guys will do a great job coaching it and teaching it. And then, look, with Riley, sometimes it's technique. Sometimes it's the traffic opposite of a real good corner. Now, Pat hadn't been healthy, but, there's some things that I'm sure he'll want to clean up. And then there are a few calls where we look at and it's tough to try to clean up or correct something if you don't agree with it. But overall, the penalty thing is not just one player, though. The penalty thing is by far, when you look at the totality of it, and if you do your homework on it and you look offensively and defensively, that's something that we as a collective have to get better at.
Eric DeLalla, DenverBroncos.com.
Coach, you mentioned back in May that you thought Troy Franklin was a guy that could take the next step this year. What did you see from him that made you think that was possible, and how encouraged have you been by what he's been able to do through the first 11 games?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's explosive out of his break. I think he's he's not afraid to compete at all. He's real good at the line of scrimmage with his releases. I think there's a confidence that Bo has with him, and so it's a little bit what we saw from Marvin, and I'm happy with that room. I mean, those guys are all competing, working hard, and going against some real good defenses.
Think Jeff may be having some
No,
audio.
I'm
There you
ready.
go.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was just waiting for the tip off. No, Sean, I was just curious if you'd be able to say if Pat and or Alex would practice this week.
Yeah, I would never get into that on a Monday. I appreciate the question though.
Do you like their progress and their recovery?
Yeah, again, I wouldn't get into anything injury related, but I appreciate the question.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. I believe those are all the questions we have for you today. Thank you for joining us.